Netflix built their empire off of 80s nostalgia, but I believe the novelty has worn off. I like the 80s aesthetic, but it doesn't have the same resonance as it did 5 or 10 years ago. They should have made this as if it was made in the 80s, utilizing techniques from that period, but it is just a modern movie with an 80s skin. In any case, I grew up loving R.L. Stine's Goosebumps books, and while I never got into his young adult-oriented Fear Street series, I am enthusiastic about the Fear Street books being adapted into films. As expected, despite the gore, this film is geared at teenagers, who I believe will enjoy it for the most part. It is a solid 90-minute horror that succeeds in its aim and is the ideal movie for a streaming platform. It's a sleepover movie. There is a clear distinction between a period piece and a nostalgia piece, and this is the latter, with almost every needle drop being an iconic song. To truly depict the 80s, we should be hearing songs that are forgotten in time, or having characters that are still wearing 70s clothing or that aren't totally up to the fashion of the times. I'm admittedly tired of these types of Netflix movies, but this one, if a bit bland, mostly works. I was impressed with the Fear Street trilogy that Netflix released in 2021, each of which was cognizant of the age in which it was situated and demonstrated what you can achieve with a story roadmap. You may argue that this is the bare minimum expected of you when creating a trilogy, but when was the last time you saw one with a plan? Prom Queen is the first in the series to take place in the 1980s, as well as the first to be based on one of Stine's novels, The Prom Queen, published in 1992. The film is directed by Matt Palmer from a screenplay he co-wrote with Donald McLeary. Its cast includes India Fowler, Susanna Sun, Fina Stratza, Catherine Waterson, Lily Taylor, Chris Klein, Ariana Greenblatt, and Ella Rubin. The film follows the students of Shadyside High as they prepare for the 1988 prom. The popular girls are fighting for votes to become prom queen. As an odd candidacy emerges in the contest, several of the other contestants disappear without a trace. This lacks the intriguing supernatural components of the first 3 films. This is a straightforward slasher, and if that's what you're looking for, you'll probably enjoy it, although it's not the most creative film in the genre. The killer resembles a guard from Squid Game, which consistently took me out of the film, especially given that Squid Game is also a Netflix production. There is a character that walks around recording the prom on an old video camera, and while this never has any real bearing on the story, I was pleased that the video footage looked accurate for the time and camera used. This may seem like a small detail, but so many films get it wrong that I appreciate it when it is done well. When watching movies, I value verisimilitude above all. Film and TV adaptations have seldom captured the magic of Stine's work, and while this one is generic, it is well made. It is formulaic, but in typical Stine fashion, there are some decent twists and turns. There were a few weirdly placed moments of comedy among the carnage, which I found weird because the movie doesn't present itself as a horror comedy. The jokes are too few and far between to feel at home here. It's an easy watch due to the solid performances and decent characters. I love me a goofy Chris Klein performance, but the characters pale in comparison to those of the previous 3 films. If you were a fan of those films, this may disappoint you, as it is easily the worst one in the series so far. Fans may be wondering if this is a sequel to the previous trilogy, and while it does make reference to it, indicating that they all take place in the same timeline/universe, it stands on its own and can be watched independently of the other 3. I can see fans being disappointed by this film because it doesn't exude the confidence of those first 3 films, or truly understands what works about R.L. Stine's writing. but it isn't a bad film, and will likely scratch a horror itch for teens who just want to chuck something on for a movie night with friends. If you're a bit older and more well versed in the genre, I would skip this one.